Why talk about music and the power of music in a UU church? It's because the liberal left isn't good at using it. And there is a power that comes from the use of sound and images that we may want to reclaim for our own. So let me ask, how many of you have some piece of music that as soon as you hear it, it brings back a memory so strong that you might as well be reliving it? I know I do. You remember the smells, the sounds around you other than the song. That piece of music in that moment hit something for you. It was an intense experience because something about it and the context of your life made you experience more than just the sound. That's the kind of power I want to talk about. According to Reverend Sarah Schur, she said, you might know the old joke about where Unitarians go after we die. We don't go to heaven, we go to a book discussion group about heaven. This often translates in our approach to music and the way we use it. We go with the head and not the heart. There's another joke that says, why don't you use sing well? It's because we're reading ahead to see if we agree with the next 5 lines. We are a thinking religion. We're in our heads most of the time. We question, and that's fine. I'm part of it, so I'm right there with everybody else. But we don't use music in the same way that some of the evangelical churches and some branches of Judaism and Islam do, to invoke intense experience. Institutionally, we think about what we're singing, we schedule it in the service, we listen to the words to make sure we agree. It's called perceptive listening. We are paying attention. And that's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. It implies a rational relationship to the words. But there's more to using music, and especially using music in activist actions, than that approach allows. When Paul Simon wrote Sounds of Silence, he was about 21. Art Garfunkel once said that the song was about the inability of people to communicate with each other, not particularly internationally, but especially emotionally. So what you see all around you, Garfunkel said, is people just unable to love one another. That's a great analysis. That's a great headspace way of looking at the original version of that song. But 55 years later, that song is elevator music. There may be a few of you in this room that still listen to the original and have it grab you by the heart. But culturally, it no longer has that same feel. In 2016, right before the election, Disturbed recorded their version. They were angry. They made the video that you saw today. And the combination of the words and the images and that upcoming election, all the social and political events of 2016, I know the first time I saw that video, it hit me like a rock. It bypassed the brain and went straight to the senses. A man named Dr. Robert H. Woody said that the notion of peak experience was first advanced by Abraham Maslow in the 60s and 70s. And it's talking about mental states and where people have feelings of wonder and enthrallment and ecstasy, where you're totally in the moment with the music. This is the condition that underlies our first source, direct visceral experience of, rather than thinking about necessarily. In that moment, a religious experience is a musical experience and vice versa. This is much more primal than intellectual discovery. In 2011, a psychologist named Alf Gabrielson reviewed the current research on strong experience with music. He looked at trance states and transcendental and religious experiences, even synesthesia, where you see music. And he found that the effect was strongest in the presence of live music or social interaction. The presence is strongest when there are other people. And I started thinking about a protest that I went to, the gun NRA protest in Virginia a few years ago. Thousands of people on the sidewalk outside the NRA. And the UU musicians up at the far end started to play a new piece of music that only had a few words, and those words were, "We want our children back." So many gone too soon. It's the only words. The melody wasn't difficult. It was barely a melody at all. It was just repeating, "We want our children back," over and over. And you could feel this entire crowd of people start to sway with that music. Simple image, going straight to the heart, going straight to the soul. It wasn't an argument against gun control. There was no rational, deep thought there. But thousands of people were on that sidewalk, singing and shaking. Full sensory stimulation. Dr. John Whaley writes, "Now and then people may have exceptional experience with music, peak experience, which leave powerful impressions in their memory. The music absorbs the listener, shuts out everything else. It evokes strong emotions, from a purely physical response to experience of existential and spiritual character. Stage musicians deliberately try to recreate this, whether it's Elvis or Emma's Revolution or Childish Gambino. You'll see arms swinging and people crying, emotion-backed behavior. Religions use it, kirtan chanting, the repetitive music of the Breslover Hasidim, the praise songs of the evangelical Christians. You try to create a moment where there is sublime loss of self. It doesn't matter if it's the Barney theme song or Sing a Song or the theme from Sesame Street or Lizzo or How Great Thou Art or Wagner. It doesn't matter. For everyone there is something, a peak moment, a transformative change from the sounds around you. John Gertie, who wrote the first reading, or the second reading we had today, it comes from a blog post called Music as a Tool for Activism. And he's talking about musicians having the guts to use music to change hearts for something good. And he said musicians can use their talents and visibility to spur community activism. In the current political climate, there's plenty of need for activism on issues such as the environment, income inequality, healthcare reform, civil rights and voting rights concerns. The stakes are particularly high and seemingly getting higher by the day. Music is a powerful community-building tool, as its universal nature allows for cross-cultural connection and understanding, Music's power and potential in this regard can be applied to another burning issue, the travel ban on refugees from various Muslim countries and the general crackdown on immigrants. When people of different races or creeds, despite language and cultural differences, can share and enjoy music together, it opens possibilities to bridge cultural divides. In an age of increasing balkanization, walls, bans, stratification, separation, rather than defunding arts programs, we need to radically increase investment in activities that bring people together. In an increasingly diverse world, we need tools that are universal in nature. And in the case of accepting and integrating refugees, music can be an effective tool in fostering their integration into their new community. Now let's face it, I'm not about to install a big screen in the back and subject everyone to an hour of praise music every week. That's not who we are. I'm suggesting you take the time to explore the power of music more fully at your leisure. If you're doing activities around activism, how can you incorporate music? Take a look at what the right wing is doing. They use it in their churches, they use it in their activities, they use it at their concerts. And you see whole groups of people swaying all together, one unit, having this peak experience. Music is a useful tool. Look for music that speaks to your heart first. Look for music that maybe you've overlooked. Be willing to experience it, even if the music is something you would rationally discard. Don't think about it. See what moves you, what really moves you. Add video if you like. Go to see a live performance. Try to understand how powerful this is for many people. And I'm not saying it would be for everyone in this room. For some folks, music does nothing. That's okay too. Accidental peak experiences through music have already happened to you. Those moments that you'll never forget what you were doing when that song played. But you can choose to mindfully look for more sounds that create those strong feelings of wonder and enthrallment, social justice call, or even ecstatic experience as part of your religious practice. Try Spotify online, find some new stuff. Explore recordings of ancient chants or the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Check out bagpipes or rap. If you want to smile, check out the Hasidic Rabbi Nachman song. It will never leave your head again. If you like rock, go to YouTube and look for a band called Shell, S-H-E-L, doing a cover of Enter Sandman. It's haunting. Search for a sublime moment. See where it pulls your heart. Because according to John Gertie, the power of music to help create meaningful change is in your hands. And let me know if you find something good. I'm always looking for some new tunes. Blessed be and thank you.